All right, my friends. So today we're gonna learn frontside 5-0 on a ledge. You can do frontside 5-0s on a hubba, bump to bar, bump to ledge, or flat bar or rail. But we're gonna focus on the ledge, and we're gonna pretty much go through how staying centered over the lead foot, opening up to the direction you're going, and you know, staying engaged throughout the whole body applies when you're approaching learning a 5-0. But before you learn a 5-0 or improve upon it, you know, you want to ask yourself, can you improve on the frontside 50-50s on the ledge or obstacle you're trying? Can you increase some speed on your 50-50s and get a bit more control on staying centered over the lead foot? Can you practice, you know, manuals so that you understand how you apply staying centered over that lead foot as you only have one truck on the obstacle? You know, you gotta understand if you can improve on steps that you can take before instead of going full on for the frontside 5-0. It's not always a perfect approach when you're learning a trick, but it helps to have the fundamentals or a good solid foundation before you actually go for the main trick, right? You can think of the main trick having, you know, a lot of other tricks as the foundation. So for example, for a frontside 5-0, I would say the ollie, right? You need the ollie to get up there. You need frontside 50-50 to understand how to stay on with the back truck and the front truck. You need a mani, right? Because you're on one truck. You need to know how to go parallel towards the ledge. You need to understand where your body weight has to be, right? And so for a frontside 5-0, your body weight isn't over this back foot, even though you're applying that pressure through it. Your body weight is centered over this left. For me, as a regular skater, this left side, right? You want to take a look. Okay, pretend I'm going frontside. If you want to take a look of how my weight is over the board, I'm centered over this left side, right? If anything, the middle, but for sure this left side, and not the back one. The back one's applying the pressure, but I'm centered over that lead foot. Another thing is, are you opening up to the direction you're going so that when you get on, you have a sense of direction and can decide whether or not you want to pop out or just keep going. So for that reason, you want to make sure you're opened up instead of just being, you know, closed off to the direction you're going and just, you know, very parallel over the ledge. Even though that's not such a bad idea, but this posture right here, can't even get on. This posture right here kind of has you biased towards that back foot, which is something we don't want, because then we might slip back once we add some speed. So for those reasons, you want to stay centered over that lead foot. You want to make sure you're engaged. And a big mistake a lot of skaters make when they get on a 5-0 is they'll lock it in, right? They'll ollie lock it in, but they'll be extended, right? And they'll think, oh, it's ready for me to approach it and go for it. But when you add speed, if you add speed and you land in an extended manner, you're going to be risking yourself in the sense where you might slip back. So you might get on, slip back. So you want to make sure that when you're getting on, even on a stall, you're engaged, right? I even like to do little exercises like this where I'll pretend I'm going with speed, hop on, and land in the position that I'm going to be over my board, right? So check this out, right? So that's how I'm going to be. So let me practice it. Parallel over the board. I was kind of leaned back, if you notice that. Let me go again. Parallel, stay centered over this lead foot, opened up. That's a little better. One more time. I was centered over, and that's what we prefer to do. Even if we don't commit to a 5-0, we're still centered over that lead foot, so it allows us to save ourselves. It gives us some room for error. Whereas if you're just staying solid over that back, you can easily slip back. Back foot will have you slipping back. So right here, I'm gonna give it one good one. You can stand to that side, so they see how I'm opened up. Oh, okay, not good. So right there, I was just leaned over that back foot. Okay, that was not the best one. What happened? It wasn't the best one, huh?
Yeah.
It looked like a 50, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were just hunched over too.
I know. It's kind of hard to get through this angle. Okay, that was better. I'm not gonna try to force it because the approach is awkward. I just don't want to skate on the ledge over there because they're skating it. But what is applied, another thing is, a lot of times when people are learning 5-0s, they're okay with landing the stall and applying pressure through the heel. But it's super important that you get comfortable if you're doing stalls, applying pressure through the forefoot. Okay? Again, applying pressure through the forefoot does not mean staying leaned over that back foot. A lot of people say with feebles, front feebles, any trick that you have to do over the back truck, that you have to lean back. But it's less about leaning back and it's more about just understanding you need to apply the pressure through that back foot. So, having said that, do not lean back. Big mistake you can do not do that. I can't stress that enough. Now, having said that, apply pressure through the forefoot. This is what we can stabilize ourselves way better if we're on the forefoot as opposed to being on the heel. Okay, that's a quick rule of thumb. But the way that's applied on a 5-0 is forefoot. Forefoot, this gives us the leverage to pop out, right? If we're on the heel, you can't really pop out. You could even practice this. Get on your heel, 5-0 stall, and try to pop out. It's gonna feel so much more awkward than if you were to lock into a 5-0 with the forefoot. You have so much more control, right? The toes need to stay on the board. Keep that in mind too. Not just for 5-0s, but for tricks in general. All right, trying to think, what am I missing? There's always ways to challenge yourself. So if you're someone who's already landed a 5-0, you can go faster, you can go slower. Either way, you wanna make sure you challenge yourself in different scenarios of control. So going fast, can you control speed? Going slow, can you control locking in, right? A lot of people just skate fast and kiss the rail or the ledge in this case because they can't really lock in, so they just want to kiss it. I've done that. So for those of you who are just kind of going fast, just tone it down a bit, go a little slower, and try to actually get a good grind. Okay, a little distance. This is contextual to you, so I'm not saying start from the beginning of the ledge or anything. I'm just saying add a bit more ledge to grind on. Now, if you're someone who goes, slow and only kisses the ledge, maybe you want to think about going a bit further, adding some wax and just practice locking on, right? So not too fast, but as long as you lock on perfectly, that's going to be a big improvement. Right? There's so many ways to challenge it. So even if you were going onto like a ride-on grind, you can just practice locking on that way as well, or just choose a smaller ledge, right? It's very contextual. You got to use different obstacles as tools to, step to progress. So if you don't feel comfortable doing a 5-0 in the length, that is, how do I say this, that you want on a bigger ledge, then look for a smaller ledge and practice going the distance on that ledge. Don't feel like it's boring. See it as a challenge and an opportunity to, get a bit more uncomfortable so that you can meet progress on the other side. Many times, a lot of us stray away from trying 5-0s or trying new tricks in general because we want to stay comfortable. But the best way to learn or progress is to kind of touch on comfort every now and then, again, so that you're always exposed to different ideas and an opportunity to you know, to apply yourself in a way that's gonna have you learning new tricks. In this case, it's a frontside 5-0. So, like I said, you can always practice 50s more. You can always practice staying centered over that lead foot, opened up a bit more, just engaged, so that in your other tricks, the other aspects of skateboarding, so that when you go about learning a new trick, such as the frontside 5-0, you already have those things, those habits dialed in, and it's not so much of a mental strain to apply them. Now, it still may be a bit confusing to apply them, but give yourself that time. Don't get frustrated if on one try you're not centered over the lead foot, and then the other you're centered over the lead foot, but you're not opened up towards the direction you're going. Just allow yourself, you know, that time. Be patient with yourself, and you know, approach the process with an open mind and patience. But having said that, oh, what's up, Brian?
There's something that I think a lot
What's
of
up? Just say it.
people do where they don't go on top of the ledge, but they extend their
Oh,
foot.
there we go. Okay, so frontside 5-0, you want to stay centered over that back foot. You want to make sure you're applying pressure over that back foot. So like back foot, pressure, and make sure that you're over your board still, right? So if you're turned out, over your board, pressure, you're in here. Prioritize staying centered over that board as well, that lead foot over the board, because some of us will kind of get on the 5-0 slanted back as if you're doing it on a bow or something, and even though that might work here and there, it doesn't really translate very well when you're doing it on, you know, various different obstacles. So it might be cool and stylish, but that's gonna be increasing your risk of not locking on, and then because you're slanted, there's only room for you to slip out, right? If you don't lock on and you're leaned back, the only thing that's gonna happen is you slip back, either fall on your back or fall on the ledge. Whereas if you're applying pressure on the back foot, staying centered over that lead foot, and you slip out from there, you still have control to kind of save yourself, right? Because you're up here. You have more say of where you want to go. You can decide to jump off this way. You can decide to jump off back, or just kind of let the board go and catch yourself. Whereas if you're going slanted, the only way you can go, it's not like you can slip and then pull yourself back up. You can't do that. Gravity doesn't allow you. So the only thing possible is going to be, so don't do that. Don't sacrifice staying centered over that lead foot for just landing, for sake of landing a frontside 5-0. You want to make sure you're learning it with all of these things incorporated, so that you're building upon good habits. That way, once you improve on the frontside 5-0, you can approach it and apply it to a hubba, a bump to bar, bump to bar, bump to ledge, you know, and other obstacles that you might come across on the park or at the street. Anything else you have in mind?
Also, a good practice would probably be like 50-15, but making sure you're able to
Stay centered over that lead foot.
no, stay on the ledge and not make sure it's your balance and not your momentum pushing you forward. Keeping you on the ledge.
All right, well, I have a different take. It's not necessarily that you can't rely on momentum. Momentum's cool, but when you have both of those tools to work together, that's when it's awesome. Because if you are only staying on the ledge because you're going fast, which is what I was getting at, some people go fast so that they can kind of so they can get away with not really locking on. Because people go fast to do that, they're kind of robbing themselves from the opportunity to improve the control and just staying centered over comfortably, regardless if the speed's gonna take them or not, right? So you can go to the left. You can go fast, right, and have the speed take you out, or you can go slower, lock on, and allow yourself to stay on the board instead of the speed. Sorry, allow your control to keep you grinding instead of just the speed taking you all the way through. Momentum. That's what you were referring to, right?
Yeah, because sometimes you go so fast that you get on and then you end up getting out over here because it's just momentum.
Right. Yeah, and so what he's referring to is that sometimes because you have no sense of direction and control, you know, if you don't pop the right way and lock in the right way, then you might be kind of, your body might be going into the obstacle or off the obstacle. And so it might cause you to pretty much either get off earlier than you would want to, or just kind of not feel confident to go all the way. So it's important you have that ability, and the way you're gonna gain that ability is by making sure that you build control with your tricks. And so in this case with the frontside 5-0, the reason why I'm emphasizing staying centered over that lead foot, opening up, approaching it in a parallel position instead of diagonal, is because all those things put together are going to have you building good habits that will allow this trick to translate onto different obstacles and increase your difficulty level with this trick. You might 5-0 Hollywood 16 if you learn it good starting today, or improve upon it starting today. We won't know until we actually implement this. But having said that, that's it for this video. If you're interested in coaching or lessons, or want to see another trick covered, leave it in the comments, or find me at profe.carlos on Instagram. Having said that, peace out.